Hi everybody, my name is Hannah, this is Pepper and Pine, and I have a physics lesson to share with you today. We're working through our Waldorf curriculum by Live Education for heat, light, and sound, and today we're going to be working on an introductory lesson with color. For the first example, I'm going to be using some hot press watercolor paper. This has a smooth texture. This watercolor paper is by Fabriano and it measures 9 inches by 12 inches. So I'm working alongside my 13-year-old daughter, so I've pulled 2 sheets out, one for her and one for me, and she's going to follow along with me. I'm going to be wetting our page because we want to do wet on wet watercoloring, and you can soak your pages. I do have a little water bottle that I use in case my paper dries too quickly or if I didn't soak it. This isn't ideal, but this was enough to get the project going. I'm using our Stockmar watercolors, and I did pre-mix them first. They come concentrated and you mix them with some water. And you can see that the colors here are quite light, and I did add too much water when I was mixing these colors together. And I do want stronger pigments, especially for our secondary colors. So I keep adding some more paint, but it's just too watered down. So we're going to end up doing this whole project again, a little bit differently, but with the same idea. This time we're using cold press watercolor paper. This has a textured finish, and I'm also using my Stockmar watercolors once again. And I have concentrated our watercolors a little bit more. I added more of that concentrated watercolor to our mixture so that we could get some richer colors this time around. I start out with 3 circles of yellow, 2 of red, and 1 of blue. And then from that, I'm going to mix those colors into those other circles so that we can get our secondary colors. Now, still that green is not quite as rich as I would like it. And there are 2 primary blues that you can choose from in the Stockmar colors, at least in the 3 set and the 6 set that we get. One is an ultramarine and the other is a Prussian blue. I personally prefer the Prussian blue, and I think that you get a richer green when you use Prussian blue. But these are the 3 colors that I had chosen for this lesson. And also you're going to get a different purple if you use the Prussian blue as your primary blue. So my orange is looking beautiful. I really like the way that the orange turned out, and the purple is looking great too. It's just that green that I wanted it to be a little bit deeper and richer. Also, the whole circular original design that I had completely fell apart, and now I just pulled that color all the way to the edges, and I really like the way that this turned out, but it dried so pale. I want to do this one more time because I really want those colors to be vibrant, and I really want to be able to show where those secondary colors come together. So once again, I'm using my cold press watercolor paper, the one that has a texture. It is soaked in water first, but that sponge is used to remove some of the excess pools of water. And this time around, I'm just going to do 3 parts of the page with a deep intensity of these primary colors, and then gently bring those colors into each other around the edges. I do have 2 water containers to wash my brushes thoroughly, and you can use just the one brush and wash it each time, but I find it a little bit easier to have a dedicated brush for each of the colors. You still want to take care not to transfer any of those colors into your main pot or onto your page. And if that does happen, you can take a sponge or a paper towel or a towel and gently lift that color off of your page. Or you can use your paintbrush and dip it in water and then remove the excess water and then again lift the color off of your page, because as you saw, some of the green got into the yellow, and in another example that's going to happen again, and I'll show how that color can be lifted out. So we're doing a little bit better, but wherever the page curled up, you saw pools of color mix into the other colors, and that's fine, but I am going to try one more time. And for the last time, I'm going to tape down the edges so that we can avoid that pooling that occurs when the page curls up. When it gets wet or as it dries, the edges sometimes might dry more and start to curl up. And so I wanted just to make sure that we got the flattest, most even distribution of color. And because I taped this down first, I just used my sponge to wet the page, and then I'm doing basically the same design, but this time I'm doing it in a landscape format. and I love the yellow. Added a lot of yellow up at that upper right hand corner, and then continued with the red and the blue, and then watch those colors as they sort of mix into one another. Then I can see that red is starting to pool into that yellow, and so even though I've taped down the page, there's still some transfer, and I did just lift it out using my paintbrush, and this is what it looked like when it dried. Still, that green is not the color that I'm going for, but I love watching these colors blend together and then form those secondary colors. It's a very meditative process. I really love doing this as an adult, and for the children, they both get that meditative process of working with the watercolors as well as the lesson, which is watching those secondary colors emerge from those primary colors. I hope that you enjoyed this look at our physics lesson. Don't forget to check out the blog post that accompanies this video, where you can find more information and links to all of the resources that I've used. You can find that link down in the description box below. You can also check out the physics course that is on my website as well. And if you'd like to see how we're homeschooling on a daily basis, you can find me on Instagram and now on TikTok at Pepper and Pine.